All right, folks, we're going to get started. Glad to see so many of you here because we have a real treat for you in our session. This is about a fascinating shift in student preferences. Some of you already know about this, but some of you might be surprised. Gen Z students are actually choosing AI over interactions with traditional humans in many scenarios. Figure that out. Here to unpack this trend and what it means for student engagement is the incomparable Mallory Willsea. Let's welcome her to the stage.
I don't. I do not step on an Element stage without walk-on music. So where's my greatest showman? No, you guys get that joke, right? You were here last year. We don't get that out of our heads. All right, so you're here for Students in AI. I'm Mallory Willsea. I'm a consultant in higher ed. I'm the host of the award-winning Higher Ed Pulse on the Enrollify network. Shout out to my Enrollify podcasters in this room. I like to help institutions and companies figure out innovation and how to adapt in a rapidly changing digital world. I've been doing that for 20 years, and I think we can all certainly say, especially after the amazing keynotes this morning, that there is nothing that will be more transformative or move faster in our lifetimes than artificial intelligence. And whether you realize it or not, high school students are increasingly turning to AI first to start their college search process. So quick poll, hands up please if you have ever asked ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those other LLMs about what it thinks about the college you work for. Love it. Love it. Students are doing this, right? A couple weeks ago, my cousin, she's finishing up her junior year and heading into her senior year, and she wanted my take on what schools she should be thinking about applying to. She knows I've been working in higher ed for 2 decades, and so I was really I spent time, y'all. I was like, all right, she lives in New York. She probably wants to go to a SUNY. She plays soccer. I was thinking about all of her interests. I was thinking about her family's financial situation. So later that day, I emailed her quite a list of, and Sienna, of course, sorry, Allison. So she got my emailed list, right, of all of this research. And then she texts me and she's like, well, after I asked you to do this, I actually just asked ChatGPT and it gave me all the same answers that you gave me. And it did it in 5 seconds and you took 5 hours. And I was like, I said the F word. So look, at least the algorithm validated my expertise, right? But this was such a real example to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, AI is truly the new front door to our colleges and universities. And students are using AI for all sorts of things. So throughout this presentation, you are going to see a lot of stats. And the goal today is that anybody in this room who's I need to convince my boss or my president or the cabinet or the trustees, or you insert any name, I am going to try and load you up with so many proof points so that you can go home and say, this is why we need to pay attention to this stuff in the words and language that your leadership will value, okay? And we're going to look at 2 main research studies. One is published from OHO. It is widely available. I had Jason Smith on my podcast a couple weeks ago. So you can listen to it, you can download the research, and we'll be looking at those stats. But stats like this one here, the Zemi Tutor, they were also on my podcast. This is not published yet. So y'all, you are getting sneak peek first access information to the behaviors of high school students. Now, we know it's not just Gen Z, right? Gen A is using AI as well. I was watching that new Magic special on Netflix, Justin Willman, and he had these 5 kids come up on stage, and they were doing a magic trick, but he asked a number of them what they think about the coming AI apocalypse. It was hysterical. Well, one of the 13-year-old boys was he just outed his entire class. He was like, all my classmates use AI to cheat on their math exam. And then he starts naming them. And it was like, okay, all right, we see you. So we know they're using it, right, to help them with their homework. But on the complete other end of the spectrum, my friend's 7-year-old daughter loves to take photos of my dog and her stuffies and put them into ChatGPT and create comics. She has this incredible imagination that ChatGPT's image generator is now supporting, and we have a whole backstory now on my dog and her stuffy and how they are pop diva princesses together, okay? So these are like the wide-ranging use cases of what the youngs are doing with AI right now. And I am sure there's plenty of you with kids in this room. I'm sure you've got a dozen more cute and scary examples of what AI is being used for. Now, within this 61%, Zimi's research has uncovered that 70% of high schoolers admit to using AI to help them with their homework, and 55% are saying it's helping them write their essays. Now, like my cousin, 30% of students are using AI to explore their college options. This number has doubled in just 2 years. And I think, like anything, the rate of AI has shown us this number is going to continue to grow at a faster and faster and faster pace. Now, the level of sophistication within these prompts is very interesting. And the OHO research actually does kind of get into that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But they vary from things like my cousin, right? Give me all of my New York-based school choices, all the way to, all right, here's my program interests, here are my grades, my extracurriculars, et cetera. Help me actually match with right fit institutions and kind of everything in between. Now, with more than half of the students who are using AI are asking AI to have direct comparisons between your school and your competitor, and they're doing it side by side within ChatGPT or Gemini. They are seeing how AI can just very quickly help them cut through a lot of noise and save a lot of time, right? Like the lengthy website navigation, the lengthy Google searches, like it's very time consuming, and they're finding a lot of efficiencies with AI. So look at this from the OHO research, right? 3 in 10 students are using AI to research upwards of a dozen or more times. Just wait for this one. More than 50% are saying that those AI-driven search results are better than what they get out of Google. Now, this is, I think, indicating remarkable trust, right, in artificial intelligence among our youth. But it's not just about marketing disruption. It's really reshaping how your institution shows up. Who runs marketing teams in here or is on a marketing team, right? So keep your hands up if you've already been paying attention to all the shifts in SEO that's been happening. Yeah, Google Marketing Live 2025. Just a couple months ago, our Google search results have completely turned over to AI. Before you ever see the ad your school is paying for, the URL to your homepage, the first thing you're getting is an AI summarized answer. So if a student is asking Google, not going even to ChatGPT, they're just still going to Google and saying, what are my best fit institutions? AI is delivering the result. Do you show up, right? Do you show up? Those of you who have raised your hands and said you've used ChatGPT to ask it about your institution, right? Well, are you showing up when your institution's name isn't in the search query? 40 to 60% of searches end without a click. And that was last year, right? That was before all of these AI changes. That number is just going to continue to increase. So the implications, I think, are really significant. Search is not about exploration anymore. It's about answers. Organic visibility shrinks as zero-click increases. People are bypassing Google altogether, going straight to the LLM. And really, this just means a loss of control, right, for us marketers, which that's like our least favorite thing. We love control. So hot take, forget the homepage, right? AI is your new front door. Students are getting their first impression of your institution from ChatGPT or Gemini. And if you are not shaping your AI presence and how you are showing up in those results, somebody else is doing it for you. And if you have outdated or inaccurate information on your website, your institution's vulnerable. I am not going to waste our time by asking you to raise your hands if you have outdated or inaccurate information on your website. We all do, yeah. So we've established it, right? We all can agree. Gen Z loves AI. We have checked that box. So let's go into the 4 reasons why, right? Why do they prefer to use AI in their college search? OHO and Zimi's research uncovered the same thing. Gen Z is embracing AI for practical, pragmatic, and low-risk tasks, and we're going to dig into that. So if we can understand that, right, we can figure out how to best serve our institution to them when they need it. All right, raise your hand if you've ever been frustrated trying to find information on your own college's website. Right, exactly. So are our students frustrated? Absolutely. We have already nodded to this first of the 4. AI excels at simplifying complex information and taking the complexity out of process. So what is more complex than the mountain of research that starts the college journey? Students love that AI is going to cut quickly through that noise. And I told you that OHO actually dug into some of those prompts a bit more. There's 2 things, 2 commonalities. The first is pragmatic queries. So this is requests that show things that are factual, right? Where is your institution? How much does it cost to go there? Very straightforward. Admissions criteria, proximity to their home. The good news is chances are on your website that information is correct. All right, so all right, if that's the majority, we're okay today. But the second is around student life. And that's where things get a little tricky. I was involved in student government. I was involved in the website when I became on the marketing team at my alma mater. The rate at which the student clubs would turn over never kept pace with the rate at which we would keep them up to date on the website, right? So if a student is asking about these experiences that they can have at your institution, and maybe it really matters to them that you've got a chess club, but the chess club disbanded 2 years ago and your website never caught up, right? They're now not getting accurate information. Like this second area is where I get a little nervous, but right, update our websites and yeah, it's easy, no problem, you're fine. All right, this is where a trained tool can really help. So SEMO, do we have SEMO in the room anywhere? Yeah, whoop, whoop, we love SEMO. All right, their admissions team, and I want to speak for you, but I hear your admissions team was struggling with some fragmented communications, some inconsistency, some information silos. This probably sounds familiar to all of us. And like all of us, right, teams are burdened with repetitive tasks. And when you have to do things at a very manual rate, the risk of human error just increases, right? So to tackle those issues and to help make information easier, SEMO introduced Sadie. This is their AI chatbot powered by Element 451. And Sadie instantly answers student inquiries pragmatically, clearly, accurately, and it frees the team up to actually focus on the higher value tasks, the harder to answer questions. And I think simply like the results just truly speak for themselves. Like seeing double-digit gain in freshman enrollment is incredible. And a 91% retention rate in this time is just very, very impressive. And was that all because of Sadie? Probably not, but did Sadie have a really big contribution to the success of those numbers? Absolutely. High schoolers trust AI to simplify their decisions, right? Direct quote from the research. They find it easier to talk to AI than to talk to a human. So I'm just going to plant that seed with you for a little bit later. The second thing that Gen Z loves about AI is efficiency. This is my favorite word. I love efficiency. But I'll tell you what, if I had a nickel for every time someone was like, Gen Z expects personalized digital experiences, like, oh my gosh, enough. Like, we get it. They like Netflix. They like Amazon. It's true. So give me another nickel. Gen Z expects personalized digital experiences. Honestly, we all do, right? Who really wants to have to cut through fluff? Like nobody. We just do not have patience for it anymore, and our high schoolers are no different. AI is going to eliminate the need to ever have to navigate your website. In fact, the most beautiful day will be when I land on a website and all it is an empty box, and I just put in the question and it spits out the answer, right? I do not want to navigate websites anymore. So AI agents, we heard about it this morning. There's memory coming, right? They're going to be able to remember previous interactions. AI agents can connect to the CRM. They can pull information about the student, the grades, the extracurricular interests, et cetera, right? This is all in an effort towards efficiency. And AI can help adapt the responses based on what it knows about you versus the next person who might have the exact same query. Forsyth Tech, Blaze Bots, Forsyth Tech's in the room, we love them. They were facing a communication bottleneck. Again, who isn't facing a communication bottleneck? Their students were stuck with confusing processes, overloaded phone lines, and an outdated website, right? I happen to know Forsyth Tech was going through the process of redesigning their website as they were bringing AI on board. You do not have to wait for one or the other. And the beautiful thing is, because they were able to implement BlazeBot, I mean, not only is it saving their staff a ton of time and increasing enrollment and all those things, but in that time period before that new website went live, they were able to train BlazeBot on all the right answers so that the student didn't have to go navigate the website. They could just talk to the chatbot and get the answers very clearly. And now the new website looks beautiful, so congratulations, y'all. Gen Z wants efficiency, all right? I have said I can relate to this, and look, I will admit I am willing to trade 100% accuracy out of AI because we know it hallucinates. I am willing to trade 100% accuracy for 100% efficiency, and I'm not the only one. Now, the third reason why students love AI, I think, is one of the most important and certainly my favorite one to talk about. AI interaction is removing the fear of judgment and allowing students to ask the dumb questions without being afraid of embarrassment. So chatbots are giving this low anxiety environment to high schoolers. What high schooler isn't afraid of judgment, okay? So they can practice with AI. They can make mistakes. Back in 2008, when I was in admissions, I was just coming off of being a tour guide for 4 years. And I noticed as a student a very distinct difference when I would just have one family with me on a tour versus when I was giving a group tour. The questions were very different. And I always kind of likened it to like, all right, well, this 17-year-old boy is surrounded by other pretty girls and like doesn't want to ask certain questions in front of other pretty girls, and actually maybe doesn't even want to ask those questions in front of his parents, but was more willing to ask some of those dumb questions in front of his parents than the pretty girls. The question I never got as a tour guide, though, was whether or not there was toilet paper in the bathroom. No one asked that. When I became a staff member, I implemented an anonymous Q&A tool. My student ambassadors used to monitor it. Guess what the number one question was through the anonymous Q&A tool? Is there toilet paper in the bathrooms? Right? So that's the kind of question that today AI would handle for us. Absolutely. So you don't have to bring toilet paper when you're a freshman, right? Like we kind of chuckle at that because we think it's silly. A first-gen student, any student, like truly does not know if there's toilet paper in your bathroom, right? And there is no way they are asking that in front of their parents, in front of the pretty girls, but they're going to ask your chatbot. Last but not least, our fourth reason is convenience. Us mere mortals need to sleep, okay? But AI is always on and it's always accessible. And those instant responses mean that students do not have to wait. They can be watching Love Island at 9 o'clock at night. When the question comes out, I wonder where Huda went to college, right? They just type it right into AI. They can check their application requirements Saturday at 2 o'clock when their mom is like poking them to go check the application requirements, right? They don't have to wait until you are in the office to do that. Community College of Baltimore, are you guys in the room? Woo! Love you too. I hear you struggled with some limited availability because you employ a lot of humans who need to sleep. And as a result, right, those inquiries come in, the responses get delayed, students don't get their answers, that causes missed opportunity and that causes frustration. And that is not just CCBC, right? That is many, many institutions. They introduced their always on chatbot and 6,000 conversations, 900 plus staff hours, increased the inquiries by 55 times, but also boosted the event attendance by 300%. I mean, just absolutely incredible to have a resource for students that is on when they want it. All right. Yeah, and there it is, right? Yeah. So look, I am an AI enthusiast. I hope you've picked that up, but I'm not going to give you like a biased take, right? It's not all roses and students don't just want AI for everything. So actually, instead of raising your hand this time, stand up if you personally trust AI to manage all of your retirement savings from now until the day you retire without you or another human ever checking it. Please stand. Everyone in the back just went, like everyone up here can't see it, but now we've got some wall squats going on back there. Like we got some strong quads. All right. Yeah, no one stood up. Okay, so can we also not be surprised by our students' behavior too? We have established that Gen Z enthusiastically embraces AI for practical tasks, initial research, pragmatic queries, but they set boundaries when the stakes become too emotional, too personal, or too impactful on their future. Students are not afraid of AI. They are afraid that AI will get things wrong. So I think that finding is along the lines of what you all just proved, right? There is something a little bit uncomfortable still, and maybe we'll feel differently 2 or 3 years from now. But today, there is something a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to AI doing things that are very personal, very financial, right, without any human oversight. And my bet is when the students were asked this question, that's what they were thinking, right? I wouldn't either want AI to completely automate my admission decision or my financial aid package, one of the 4 largest expenses in our lifetime. And as you all proved, especially when it comes to money, right, we have to make sure we keep humans in the loop. That does not mean AI cannot pick up on some important tasks, but we still need to be transparent to students about where AI is being used and where the human intervenes. So there's a few reasons I think why this trust gap exists, and I think it's genuine concerns that not just students but everybody has around AI, because we have all experienced situations where AI's fallen short. Artists a couple years ago used to use this great slide that showed some interactions with airlines and different things and chatbots, and they're hysterical because they were so bad, right? And we've all experienced and we still experience that. But when it comes to 3 things, fear of inaccuracy, bias, and emotional disconnect, that's really where we have to work a little harder as humans and let AI pick up other things. Students are worried that AI is going to miss some context or lack some empathy in the moments when it really counts. And that's our admissions and our financial aid decisions. And I really think this quote from the research sums it up very nicely, right? AI is a helpful tool, but they still recognize there's some risk in it. So here's the hard truth. Your biggest AI problem is not ChatGPT. It is not a poorly trained chatbot. It's just simply your content. Poor communication, like robotic emails and impersonal messaging, is eroding trust with your student population, whether they're prospective students or current students, even when AI is not involved. And they already think you're using AI to message them, right? Like they assume you are using AI to message them. So when your communications feel cold and unscripted, or it's very scripted and robotic, right? That is just eroding that trust even more before a student maybe ever even interacts with your AI tools. We know in life, trust is built slowly, but it goes away very quickly. And so the first impression, like anything, always matters. Students judge your authenticity, and the transparency from the first interaction matters long before they apply or enroll. The issue is not your chatbot, it's when your content feels impersonal, and even your AI interactions need to feel human. I was just so impressed when Petter was on stage this morning and you had that voice bot. Like someone leaned over and they're like, that sounds like you. Like it sounded so real, and the inflection and the tone, right? It didn't sound like a robot sounds, and that really does matter, right? That tone. I really hope this is the most obvious slide that I put up here today. What kind of communication clicks with students? The same stuff we all respond to. Keep it conversational, keep it personalized, and keep it simple. They don't want to feel, nobody wants to feel like a number, right? And I think Artis said it earlier, students expect that you know when you've interacted with them in the past, which college fair they saw you at or high school visit, that time they went to campus and took a tour, right? This is the value of the CRM to maintain all of this data. And when you layer that AI on top of it and it can extract that information, it helps a student feel like a human. And when it is written in a simple way, clear, direct, and in giving them the information they need when they need it, right? They get the information they need to know and they trust you. And over time, that builds. All right. We do not have to pick sides. Luckily, this is not a human versus an AI situation. We need the best of both. And in higher ed, right, we are in an industry where human judgment and empathy and personal connections really matter. AI can't and shouldn't replace everything that we do. Institutions need to blend the convenience and the efficiency and the speed of AI with human availability and empathy, especially as we've established when those conversations are really complex or sensitive. So think about this. Every time a student picks a chatbot over waiting for your email or waiting for you to call them back, they're not rejecting you as a human or the connection that they could possibly make. They're highlighting a gap. Now, we don't have to fill all those gaps, right? We've established that we are humans and we need to sleep. So we don't need to have our office open at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. But every time they pick the chatbot, they are showing you where there is a communication gap. And that might mean your approach is too slow. That might mean your approach is not clear. It might mean that you are just disconnected. And I guess AI is a mirror in this way, right? Because we can reflect the opportunities for improvement. And while students might say they prefer humans, right, some of the research indicates students do prefer humans over AI. But I don't believe that's true if they have to wait a week for our response. So how do we close those operational gaps? 3 things. It starts with practical strategies and really blending what AI does well with the things that we do well as humans. So first, just let AI handle all the routine stuff. CMO, Foresight Tech, and CCBC checked that box very quickly and have had really impressive results. Quick questions, basic facts, deadlines, that type of stuff. Like, get rid of it. Just let AI handle it instantly. That frees you up. And then second, have some very clear triggers for human escalation, because the AI might be handling those things, and then the questions might start to veer into the more empathetic or sensitive. You need to have a very clear trigger for when the human gets involved, whether that's within the chatbot itself or just within the communication cycle. So build that pathway and be very thoughtful about it. So if a student raises something that is very sensitive, maybe it's a personal issue or that financial aid question, boom, they're just connected to the real person. And quite honestly, like the best choice is the third one. Give the student the power to choose, right? So if they want to talk to AI about whether or not there's toilet paper in the dorm room, they can. But they can easily also opt into the human conversation at any moment. At the end of the day, just let the student feel like they're the ones in the control of their process, right? We are there to empower them and to strengthen them in that process, but at the end of the day, it's their experience. So the goal is not human versus AI, human or AI. It's a nice blended approach. Who here is already utilizing a chatbot or an agent, some sort of AI to handle the queries like we've been talking about? Okay. Wonderful. I always like to end my presentations with something tactical that whether your hand was just up or not, you can go and do tonight, later this week, next week, whatever. So regardless of your team size or technology, I've got 3 things for you. First, tonight, maybe even before you go to bed, maybe while you're at the museum, test your AI visibility. Pretend you're a student. Go to Google search, go to ChatGPT. Ask it questions, pretending you are my cousin Maddie, right? And find out what returns. Level that up and start documenting what it returns, right? It takes a little more discipline to do that because you'll probably want to do this at a regular cadence, maybe even daily, and you'll want to extract the results from similar prompts, maybe into a spreadsheet. But guess what? If you do that over time, you're building a very interesting little documented library, and then you can pop that right back into your favorite AI tool and have it analyze the shift in those responses over time. Any of us can do this, right? Second, I would say this is a weekly thing, especially if you already are working with AI agents or a chatbot. Dive into those interactions and see what is happening. See what the most common questions are. And do you have the information easily on your website? Is it something that the student is going to the chatbot because it's unclear or the website's hard to navigate, or is it something else, right? And again, AI can help you analyze all of this so much faster. Third, and I'd say maybe before the summer wraps up, right? Weed out the jargon, simplify your language, do that thorough audit. AI can help you with that too. But get your content into a place where you do feel like it's truly conversational and authentic. 3 things anybody can do, fairly easy, fairly impactful, that I think it makes a real difference, especially that first one. If you start documenting that today, just imagine next year when we're all here together, you are going to have quite a resource to look back on to really prove how AI is impacting that discovery among your student population. All right, so let's wrap this up. I just got the 5-minute warning. Students are not afraid of AI, they're afraid it will get things wrong. Nothing like quoting yourself on a slide, y'all. Everyone take a photo of that? I'll post, no. So I really do believe that while they say they prefer humans, what they really mean is they prefer fast information and they will go. Their actions prove what maybe their responses, are a little different. Their actions prove that they will go wherever that information is fastest. So your 3 takeaways in summary of the last 36 and a half minutes. AI's here. Gen Z uses it. They trust it, especially when it comes to pragmatic queries. But transparency and authenticity are required. Your AI and human strategies need to complement each other, not compete with each other. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this one has not changed in the 20 years that I have been working in this industry. Be clear and be conversational in your communication strategy, and you will be setting yourself up for success with any level of AI involvement. Start simple, but start now. Your future student engagement depends on it. Thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure to be here. I think we have a minute or 2. Yeah, sure. We have 3.5 minutes for questions, and I'll happily take them. And yes, I do love The Greatest Showman. Yes, I do love Love Island. Okay, yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm curious about the place of authorship when we're reaching out to students, right? Because it's like, on one hand, I'm like, I could design all of these like AI campaigns that feel like they're coming from an AI presence, but then you're also talking about collaborating with humans, and they also prefer to hear from humans, throughout the admissions process. And so, like, if I'm designing these communications, should they feel like they're coming from me as a person, even though like AI is sort of handling all of it, if we're using an agent or something like that? Or is there a clear sort of like separation between this is AI managed content, and then at a certain point we're clearly switching over to a person that's going to handle some more careful kind of consideration in terms of context, things like that. So yeah, curious about
I
that.
get what you're asking, and you're asking like, oh, there's a lot packed into that question, because I don't think that you need to have like a little disclaimer at the bottom of your email that says ChatGPT wrote this email. Like, nobody cares, right? So, and like, oh, and for the like, please don't just let ChatGPT write the email. Like, the human needs to also look at it and edit it, and right, of course, that's table stakes. But I personally do not believe your emails need to declare that AI was involved in writing that content. Where I do think it matters is if, right, don't trick your student. So if it's a chatbot and it's AI versus a human, maybe that's where the transparency comes into play. When it's escalating to a human, it's clear that it's escalating to a person. In your communication strategy, where you've got AI handling all of these pragmatic fact-based things, right? And then you insert the human to handle something that's more sensitive, be clear that it is a human in that moment, right? I hope I got to the intent of your question, but I think ultimately, like, every time you draft something and you use AI to help you, like, I think we're past a point where we need to like wave a flag and say, oh, AI, help me write this. One more? Sure.
I just wanted to say that the Element Copilot copywriter, I love that.
Ooh. Amen. No question. Just praise. Love. All right, we're ending on that. Artists can pay me later. No. Thank you guys so much. It's just great.
Thank you, Mallory. That was wonderful. Folks, it is a snack break. Please enjoy a snack and then join us for our next session in just a little while. Thank you so much.